Hey everyone, welcome back to Tallulah Talks. That is me. If you do hear the bird in the background, please just ignore him. I can't really film anywhere else. This video was meant to be done yesterday, but unfortunately I wasn't feeling too well, so I thought I would do it today. So instead of Saturday's haunting hour, it is Sunday's haunting hour. And today we're going to focus on the haunting of the Gladstone Villa in Wales. I had never heard of this, but someone kind of brought it to my attention on Twitter, and I will tag them when I share this over on my Twitter page. So let's just get straight into it. So there was actually a family who lived here, and Andrew Dexter is the one who kind of relives and tells the stories about when he lived in that house. So Andrew Dexter and his family lived at a very large property known as Gladstone Villa, and the town was previously known as like a mining town in Caerphilly, Wales. I did try and find out about the house's history. Not a lot is known except that it was built in the 1900s and was named after a man called Gladstone. So from 1969 to 1978, the Dexter family experienced very unusual activity. The lights would constantly go on and off of their own accord. The whole family witnessed electrical cables being pulled out, and the granddad of the family, so the family was like mum, dad, the child, Andrew, granny, granddad. So that was all who lived there. And the granddad basically had a bottle thrown at him and it missed him by inches. Andrew said that he never actually saw what was ever haunting the family, but he did hear it on many occasions. The family would hear footsteps up in the main bedroom, and this seemed to be the entity's favourite room because this is where they always heard noises. And the family would actually often turn down, if they were watching the telly, they would turn it down in order to hear the footsteps kind of travelling back and forth in the main bedroom. Oh, sorry, I can't get on to the next page here. So Andrew was just a baby when this activity started. There would be tapping sounds, but they weren't too noticeable, and there were a lot of people living in the house. Over time, however, the activity did increase. And at one point, Andrew's mum heard what sounded like something or someone jumping down from the attic onto the landing. At this point, they believed that someone was trying to break in, and so the family kind of went upstairs to see what was going on. And when they got there, the hatch to the attic was open. But like I said, whatever the entity was, it did seem to stay in the main bedroom. The main bedroom actually belonged to the grandparents, and this entity made its presence known by walking around the bedroom and making dragging sounds, which must have been terrifying. It is said that on one occasion, Andrew's mum went upstairs to that bedroom to get her father up for work, and when his mum got to the bedroom, she was very confused by the sight of an ironing board that was placed on top of her dad on the bed. That was just really weird. And when he woke up, he was surprised to find this, and he believed that he was actually being pranked by one of the family members. Over time, because the grandfather, he was known to pull pranks, it was kind of found out that it wasn't actually him doing all these weird things that would happen around the house. At this point, the family told friends about what had been happening in the house, and the rumours began of the haunting of the Gladstone Villa. In 1972, Dexter's parents, unfortunately, Andrew Dexter, his parents unfortunately divorced. However, it wasn't because of the house or the activity, it was just one of those things, they divorced. Andrew was only 2, so he doesn't really remember the events at this time. But as he got older, he did witness some of the activity himself, and he also saw electrical cables being pulled by some sort of invisible entity. He witnessed the lights going on and off, and when his granddad would play records, the entity would turn the music off. However, when they played certain types of music, so like British rock, or like music from religious TV shows, the entity would just let those run because it apparently liked that music. The local police also got involved, and they came by to inspect the attic, but they must have felt something, and they just refused point blank to go into the actual attic. The family had a friend called Ivy, and she was very sceptical about what was going on in the house, because obviously the family had told her, and she just assumed it was the traffic that was coming past that would cause the house to rattle, and just all these weird noises. But however, Ivy did end up changing her mind when she experienced the activity for herself. And I didn't say what activity she did experience, but she at that time suggested that the family contact a medium. And at this point, they contacted a medium called John Matthews, and he came to the villa and just questioned the family just to see what was going on. He then began challenging the entity, trying to get it to perform in some sort of way. So he would knock on the ceiling, and the entity actually responded by knocking back. It was at this point that he reportedly went into some sort of trance to try and make contact with the entity, like just to kind of speak to it, but however, he did fail to get a name of the spirit. But he did actually confirm that the house was haunted and that this spirit was earthbound, and it did have some sort of unfinished business. However, the spirit didn't seem to be dangerous at all. I think it just liked to be known that it was there, and it maybe just liked to pull some pranks on them. They did get a priest to the house called Graham Jones, and he blessed the home, and after a few prayers he left, and for a few months there was no activity. However, the spirit did return. One night the family were watching TV, and the grandmother was reading a book, and Andrew's mum at this point had kind of just casually looked to the left and saw a very, very solid figure of what she believed to be a monk standing in the doorway. The other members of the family didn't see this, but the mum kind of described in detail what she saw, and she had said that she saw a monk dressed in its typical brown habitat with a hood, and it covered, the monk's face. The granddad also had a friend called Fred Davies, and he would visit on most days with the family, and he would just kind of sit with the family and speak to the family, and he witnessed a lot of this activity as well. He would smoke like homemade cigarettes, and would always he had like a favourite chair that he would sit on by the fire, and he would speak with the family. One night Fred was in his usual spot and Andrew was playing, but suddenly the family heard like a very loud bang. It was reportedly so loud that Fred actually ducked, because he thought something was falling down from the ceiling, so he obviously kind of ducked down to kind of prevent himself from being hurt. And Andrew actually ran to his mum because he was quite scared. And when all was quiet, the family went upstairs to investigate. And once the family had reached the main bedroom, because that was where all the activity happened, they found nothing that could explain this, loud bang. Fred later explained that, like I said, he had ducked because he thought something was going to come through the ceiling. He also told of another experience that he had, where he had joined the grandfather just looking out the window, enjoying the view, because it was a very nice view from the house. And he stated that he felt something kind of brush past him, And when he looked, there was nothing there. There was also another instance while Andrew was in his bed with the light on because he was scared of the dark. He was facing the window and he felt something like heavy sort of pounce as if they were going to jump on the bed. And he reportedly actually heard and felt the springs of the bed jump up. And when he was eventually brave enough, he looked, but there was nothing there. When telling the family, again, they all went to investigate just in case someone had got in, and they actually found paw marks on the bed, like dog paws. And it was later discovered that the granddad, before Andrew was born, had a black lab who unfortunately died before Andrew was born. The mum and granddad reportedly heard baby cries at different times in the day, and the activity became so active and actually got so bad that the whole family took to sleeping downstairs. This is my dog, I'm sorry. The granddad actually had another experience, and he told his family he was lying on the bed when suddenly he just couldn't move. And, that sounds like sleep paralysis, and that actually can be quite scary. And that's what the family originally thought. But the granddad had explained that he actually heard something in the room with him. The gran also had a lot of experiences. One day she went to wake her husband up, and she saw that the boiler door open by itself. She at this point just rushed out of the room, and I would too, because it's just terrifying when you see something open but like nothing's there. Like, no, I'm good. Another occasion she felt something. It was like they had pulled something from her foot. It's like she was standing on something, and she had felt them pulling it from under her foot. They actually had the ghost or entity for so long that they actually gave it a name, and they called him Johnny. And they, at this time, would shout what they named the ghost to get a reaction. I'm not sure why, maybe just to make sure they weren't, crazy. Yeah, I don't know. There was one instance where the mum had to, sorry, I can't read my own writing, but anyway, the mum's nurse, had come by because I think she'd had some sort of accident. And the nurse felt someone hold her, and the nurse had said to the mum, look, don't hold me because I'm trying to do this for you. And the family was just like, she's not doing anything, she's just sitting there. So obviously that's another witness from outside of the family that have felt these experiences. Andrew himself only heard the ghost being vocal just once. One of the family couldn't get into the bathroom. It was like the door was locked or was being held from the other side. And the granddad had stated, it's Johnny, he's in the bathroom. And they heard a specific kind of sound, I guess, behind the door. The family eventually left the home in the summer of 1978. Two businessmen bought the property and converted it into a hotel. I think it's known as the Park Hotel now in Wales. However, on the night before moving, there was one more incident that the family experienced, and they kind of witnessed it as they were getting ready for bed. They heard a doorknob turning as if someone wanted in, and they assumed, again, it was the granddad playing a prank. They then heard their packed belongings being thrown around downstairs. And the next day, the granddad insisted it wasn't him. So it was kind of like the ghost. It was like a final farewell from the ghost. The ghost seemed to be very mischievous and, to cause pranks and things. It's not like it didn't seem malevolent or like it wanted to harm anyone. It was just a bit mischievous. In the sort of present time, so fast forward into, this was like 2009, the staff at the hotel have since told Andrew of their own experiences as well. So Andrew had gone there to celebrate his 40th birthday, and he wanted to kind of go back and reminisce about his memories of being in that house. And the staff told him of the lights going on and off. They saw what appeared to be a monk, and they also heard a baby crying. And Andrew went actually to investigate because he didn't know much about the home that he had grown up in. And he found out from local archives that the property was built in the 1900s and named after the Prime Minister at the time, called William Gladstone. So I think the first family to kind of move into the property was the Kimmiott family from 1924. And the couple did have a son named Elvin, but unfortunately he did die in the house at just 4 months old. And that's believed to what the baby cries are. Evelyn, the mother, died in 1970, and this, like I said, this wasn't long after Andrew was born. And there was also a monastery, I don't know if that's how you say that, but where monks live. There was also that, like, at the end of their street. So it does explain the multiple things that they heard and saw. And that is the story of Gladstone Villa. Yeah, like I said, I don't think the spirit was kind of evil in any way or malevolent. I think there were multiple spirits there. They might still be. I believe there still are, because staff that work at the hotel continue to speak about their experiences. But it seemed like, they like to play pranks, and they like to let the family know that they were there. So like I said, that was given to me by someone on Twitter. It was very interesting to research. I was kind of disappointed I couldn't find a bit more on, who lived there and things like that. But Andrew was able to give us a little bit of insight. And that is today's story. If this is the content you like, and if you have any stories for me, definitely go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I will be here for you on Wednesday.